What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. You guys see what I got in the back? That's right, you guys. This video is about the dash on this 72 Chevelle. It's really time. I got to start mocking stuff up because we already started the wiring. We've been heavily into the wiring already, and I need to mock up the dash. I need to mock up the Dakota Digital, all that. But let me show you what we're working with. There it is, fellas. If you guys remember a couple videos ago, we kind of mocked up the dash, but it was really more for the actual glove box and the fuses that were going to live in there. So we kind of modified this already to cut this stuff up. You got to modify this anyways when you guys do Dakota Digital. I should say Vintage Air, sorry. But we did that already. Not to mention, we've already kind of mocked up our ECU that's going to live here for the engine control module. If you guys haven't seen that, I make a super cool bracket that fits these Chevelle dashes. Super cool. Check it out at gooseperformance.com. But the rest of the stuff, we got everything that I think we're going to need for the most part to get this dash kind of mocked in and ready to go. Man, that is going to be a lot of work, you guys. Believe it or not, it is a lot of work to get this dash ready to go for install. But we got our Dakota Digital gauges that are going to sit in here. This is actually just the housing that houses them, of course. And then we have all the AC stuff, the air C ducts, the Vintage Air adapters. But we also had to buy this guy right here because the SS dash obviously is a little bit different. And it has that vent that's up top. A lot of other cars, if you did not have AC, you had that area blocked off with the block off plate. I believe this dash did not have that. So we had to buy this guy just to cut it up. Kind of sucks, but we're going to end up basically cutting this guy right here. And then this guy lives right there from the, I should say, Vintage Air. Vintage Air provides this guy, but we had to go and get that one. This thing's expensive, man. Super pricey for that guy. And then, of course, stereo, baby. We went with retro sound. I love their product. Super cool. That's going to have the stock look with the Bluetooth integrated into it. Not to mention our ashtray. We got a super cool mod that we do for the USB and a phone charger. We'll see that later. ECU. This is that ECU bracket slash mount I was telling you guys about that lives underneath that vent on the passenger side. Relocates your ECU there out of the way. You can still get to the plugs, plug it in, disconnect it, whatever you got to do. Of course, we got our headlight switch. This is a brand new headlight switch that actually comes with the American Auto Wire kit, and we got to put that in because that goes along with the dash. And then this guy, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if I've showed you this before, but this is a cool little mod that I did on the last build, and it's really a phone holder. So I started moving the USB ports to the ashtray, and where the cigarette lighter used to live at, that's where I would put your USB charger for your phone. But now I've integrated a phone holder in that spot. So we're going to end up having to basically take that spot and then put the USB in here. But it really is going to help with just driving this car around, having somewhere for your phone to sit. I don't know if we'll put this guy in, but I don't think we'll put the phone holder in quite yet towards the end of the build. But of course, we got the goodies right here from Dakota Digital. Of course, we got to put all these guys in. Let me see if I can. Let me pull this stuff out, you guys. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, Dakota Digital for the win, you guys. Check it out. Love their product. Great stuff. I like to use it in almost every build, you guys. But this right here is the retro kit. It's the retro style, basically. Still digital, of course, Dakota Digital. It's got the LCD screens built in, but it's got that factory look with the orange needles, and it just gives it that factory vibe when you're looking at the dash. Kind of keep it looking stock as much as possible. But of course, though, it's got the digital upgrades, the LCD screens, the lighting is going to be way better. Everything's going to be more responsive. But this is our box here. We got to integrate that box as well. I like to mount that guy right on top of the glove box there so you can get to it if you need to troubleshoot anything. But also comes with obviously all the cables we're going to need, turn signals, wiring as well. But I think we're going to go ahead and get started, you guys. We're going to start with the dash, I should say the cluster. We'll start with the gauges and then work our way that way. But let me show you what I got going on. Man, look at that. You guys want any part of this right here? Look at this mess, you guys. Yeah, buddy. We have been busy, you guys. So again, I don't know if you guys remember that last video with the fuse box, but this is not your normal wiring setup from American Auto Wire. This is their 22 highway kit, and we really have to wire the whole car from scratch. I'm really enjoying it though. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's definitely a lot more work, and it's a little bit more tedious because again, you got to do one wire at a time. You got to make your connectors, all the above, but it really gives you the flexibility to add wires, power, accessory, grounds, you name it. So it's really going to work out for this build, not to mention that we got the LS swap, so that helps as well. But you guys can see we got our vintage airbox already mounted, our PSI harness is mounted, and we pretty much got the car laced in with a few exceptions that we're still working on. We also got to finish the back wiring as well. That's what all this spaghetti stuff is here for. We got our special pin connector that we're going to run in the firewall. A lot of work is going on. We also got a new steering column from I Did It. That's it mocked in there as well. But let's get started on that dash. Look at that bad boy right there. That looks so freaking good. So of course, you're gonna need definitely this housing. If you guys don't have the factory housing, you're gonna end up having to buy one. I know they're out there for sure. You can check eBay, but this guy's just gonna live in here, and then we're just gonna put all the screws. Dakota Digital does provide you screws, so you should have some in a bag in there in that kit. We're gonna screw that down along with our rest of our gauges here, and then the other side as well. All right, we are going to set this thing up, but you got to make sure that thing's sitting nice and flush, because if it doesn't sit flush, you'll have a gap on the front side. So make sure that bracket is sitting nice and flush. Here we got the headlight switch, but before you mount the headlight switch, there's a little plastic clear indicator that actually comes with the kit, and make sure you put that in. That basically indicates or shows you headlight switch. It's just a little clear plastic that goes there before the headlight switch. Next up, we got the vintage air. The vintage air you always want to put first because it mounts down below before you put the air duct up top. But you do have to remove that bracket to kind of tuck it inside there, or on the back side of that bracket, I should say. Next up is our ECU with our custom bracket that we offer on the website as well. We've already trimmed it. We've already mocked it up. We've already drilled any extra holes that all we got to do is put our screws in, tighten it up. Next up, we got the actual air vent, and we've already put the actual adapter from vintage air that goes on the back side. Now it is very tight there with the ECU, but it should work just. Next on the chopping block is the actual air vent that's going to go up top. Again, we do got to cut it, but it is super tricky to cut this thing because it's just a weird air vent that's got that duct on the back side. So you got to kind of cut it as best as possible. You're going to end up having to shave it down, kind of even it out a little bit. And then you got to actually put the vintage air adapter on the back side here. What I did have to do is I had to heat up that corner a little bit. Look at that corner there. We just added a little bit of heat with a heat gun, and then we just kind of pushed it down a little bit just to kind of make sure it tucks in nice and tight inside the actual air vent, because it's designed to go inside, not on the outside of this thing. But we are going to add some security screws on the outside of it, just one on each side, so that way we know that thing's not going to move, along with some RTV just to kind of seal it up. You can use anything to really seal it up. You could even use a hot glue gun if you want. I've used weather stripping adhesive before. I mean, just something to really seal it up and maximize the airflow out of this thing. Just a small self tapper there we're going to insert on one on each side, again, just to kind of secure it, so make sure it doesn't go anywhere. All right, now that we got that thing all nice and sealed up, ready to go, we can actually mount it on our dash. Next up is the actual Dakota digital box. My favorite place to put these things on these Chevelles is just right on top of that glove box right there. And all you got to use a little bit of double-sided tape. I used to run screws through them a long time ago, but I've noticed that they just kind of end up poking through on the dash side, on the inside of the glove box, I should say, and it just kind of creates a hazard. Nobody wants to stick your hand in that glove box after you got a screw sitting through there. So double-sided tape, that thing will never move. Next up is air vents. These do come in the kit from Vintage Air. You got those 4 clips that you got to put on each side. I should say each corner of the duct, and all you do is you press them in. They just sit nice and tight. All you got to do is make sure you got a firm, nice snug fit. What we're doing here, you guys, is actually we're drilling a hole here for our stereo strap that I actually leave on the back of the stereo to support the stereo, not to mention a grounding strap as well that we'll actually utilize later. The retro kit stereo here does not come assembled. Let me tell you guys, you gotta put that thing together. Pain in the butt, but it is well worth it. Oh yeah, check that out. That thing is done, you guys. Oh yeah. So that is gonna be our ashtray mod. I'll show you guys here in a minute. All right, fellas, it is the next day. You guys saw that radio installation. I totally forgot we had to assemble the radio on that thing. And it is kind of time consuming. You got to put all the little parts together, but we got it in there. And of course, we had to 3D print our ashtray mod. But it really fits pretty much your standard USB mod that you can get on Amazon, eBay, you name it. This one came from eBay because this one here has a little cover that kind of almost looks like the factory stuff, you know, with the little chrome around it. But this stuff kind of pain in the butt. It doesn't stay very well, but maybe a little bit of glue on there or something like that. But let me show you guys. This will kind of sit like this, and then you'll have that locking ring on the back side like that you can put on there. But of course, you're going to have to basically screw this down here on the back side. You're going to end up having to drill some holes into this ashtray. Oops, sorry about that. You're going to end up having to drill some holes on this backside here because this guy will live like this, just like that. And then you'll have obviously your charger in here. But it fits really nice like that, you guys. So that way, when you open this thing and it's sitting in the car, pop that thing down. You can have your phone charger in there spooled up, or your cable. And on the backside, again, we're going to end up drilling some holes so we can mount that thing so it doesn't go anywhere. You can really use probably double-sided tape if you really want to. It really won't go anywhere, but what we'll do is we'll drill a couple holes and just screw it in there. So if for whatever reason we ever got to take this thing out, we can. It's a lot easier than trying to pull double-sided tape off. All right, you guys, do not remember this quick little trick slash hack. Tape is going to be your best friend. I use tape for everything. It's just to protect stuff, or of course, in this case, we're just going to use it to make a little template so we can transfer our holes onto that back side of the actual ashtray. It'll just make it easier to drill out. And I believe I lost the content where I was drilling this thing. I don't know what happened. So you can see here, we'll mark it in. And then we'll use the actual hole on the back side to make a little template. With that, make sure we align this thing correctly when we pull the tape off this thing. Not gonna lie to you guys, this was a little bit of a pain in the butt. You definitely want to feed the wires prior to installing this. It really probably would have been easiest to just put a little double-sided tape instead of actually trying to screw this thing in there. But again, it shouldn't go anywhere. Definitely a little bit of pain in the butt. You got to mess with it, and then you got to actually tighten that locking ring on the backside of the USB. I really like this design here for the phone holder. It's a nice little locking ring. All it does is you put it through the hole and then you start tightening it on the other side, and it just kind of cinches down. Really, it really makes for a nice, clean, tight snug on this thing. Oh my God, you guys, I'm sweating my butt off. This humidity is monsoon season right now, and it's 105 plus the humidity. Hot, y'all. But let me show you what I got going on with the dash, because I went ahead and kind of wired up a little bit as well. Let me show you. So you can see, you guys, we've been putting in some work, man. Yeah, that looks freaking good. Check out Dakota Digital is nice and wired up. But I also did something that's going to help the install process. Now, with the Dakota Digital, everyone's a little bit different, but they're pretty much the same, right? You're going to have your cables that come in from the actual display / clock, the little switch, the toggle switch is going to allow you to kind of go through the settings and stuff like that. But we also had and pre-wired our check engine light. Also, basically, dim is basically your dash light. So when you hit the headlight switch for your headlight / parking brakes, that way the dash illuminates as well. Not to mention our fuel and, of course, power, ground, accessory, power. But all these other ones, there's a trick. There's definitely a trick. We're not going to use any of those because we got an LS. We're going to end up using the Dakota Digital OBD2 module. We still got to put that one in here. It's on order. I don't have it yet, so we're going to have to wait on that. But that's really the easy button for you guys. If you guys are new to this, or even if you guys are veterans at this, man, I really like to use the OBD2 port for all the different sensors that the engine has. Not to mention, it cleans it up really good. You don't have a bunch of extra wires in the engine bay and on the dash side. It's one plug, and then you run it to the OBD2 port. You connect it, you get your speedometer, you get your tach, everything. But let me show you guys the rest of this. Of course, we got our ECU. We're going to move right along this way. You can see, got it all nice and laced in with the connector. Nice, a quick, easy connector. So we'll put one on the other end of the dash side, and it's just a plug and play. That simple and clean. We got our wires all nice and tucked up here so that nothing gets caught. Not to mention, I put this little rubber guard right here. Just over time, the last thing we want to do is have that thing just start rubbing away and then potentially eat up at that insulation. But of course, the ashtray is always tricky, of course, because these aftermarket dashes, you got to kind of finesse them and kind of get them to line in. And of course, power and ground for OB or a USB port, I should say. We're going to end up tying that into the car once the dash is in. Phone holder, vintage air, plug and play there. Of course, our vintage air mod. We even got our little buzzer from Dakota Digital. I put it here. Just put a little double side tape right there. We ran it down here, and it just plugs into the back of the Dakota Digital. That's for basically your buzzer. Basically, it's like a warning for, you know, all your gauges and stuff like that. Low fuel, you name it. But of course, stereo, nice in, ready to go with our quick disconnect right here. Just kind of zip tight out of the way. Not to mention, we had to put that little back strap to support that as well. And then you're going to have all these wires. I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is going to end up being a little grounding post that we got here. We're utilizing the same bolt we're using to hold that strap in for the stereo, but we're going to make it a grounding strap as well, grounding point for the dash. So all these wires right here are actually all the wires that come from your turn signal, e-brake, and headlight switch. I should say high beam switch. So these are the ones that you get from Dakota Digital. They just plug into the back of it. But those ones just really run off power, just 12 volt source. That's really what's going to activate them. So that's why we tied in all the grounds together. And then that way, a lot less wires, a lot less mess, crazy stuff going on. Not to mention it looks that much better. But everything's plugged in as far as the Dakota Digital with their harness. You got to do is just plug them in. It's pretty simple. Follow the directions. Headlight switch, of course. You are missing one thing, though, to really finalize this dash. Is that I almost forgot about the windshield wiper switch. I got to see if I can pull the old one off the dash. If not, we might have to get a new one. But that's pretty much it. That's all we got left. And this dash is pretty much ready to go. Of course, we got to do some mock-up just to make sure, because we got to get our connections for our 12 volt turn signals and kind of see where those are going to live at. But as a matter of fact, let me turn it over and I'll show you guys the other side. Not too shabby, fellas. Look at those gauges, man. Those are going to look super freaking good. Vintage air phone holder right there. I believe it or not, I am a big fan of this, because a lot of times you get in these old cars and there's just nowhere to put your phone at. So you'll see once this dash is in the car ready to go, probably not till the end of the build, but that's just going to make all the difference when you're riding in this car. Just, I feel like it's one of those things where it's a necessity, especially nowadays when we always carry a phone and we have nowhere to put it. But of course, looking good. We'll put the glove box door not to the end of the project probably, because we want to make sure we can get our fuse box in there and everything, no issues. But of course, we got the knobs still to do on the radio. But again, that'll all be at the end of the build, not to mention the headlight switch knob as well. But that's going to look good, you guys. Let me know, man, if you guys have any questions when you guys are setting up yours. Definitely willing to help you guys out. Once again, you guys, if you guys got any questions, you guys need help setting your dash up, I do have a service on gooseperformance.com. We can talk about your project. If you guys are stuck and you guys need a hand figuring something out, or even a wiring question, hit us up at gooseperformance.com. Book your appointment today. But I think that's going to do it for this video, you guys. I got to wait for that module to come in for the BIM module. And then, of course, I got to figure out that deal with the actual wiper. But, guys, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. You guys already know. Stay wrenching.